diligent gentleman, Dr. Cyril Wecht. It's just an honor to have you here, sir, today. It really is. I wanted to mention to the audience about that website that Al was speaking about. And that website is actually www.ipetitions.com/petitions/Wecht/?E. So it would be helpful if everyone rallied together in support of what is taking place with Dr. Wecht nowadays. So I wanted to make sure that you guys got that information, www.ipetitions.com/petitions/Wecht/?E. And I just personally wanted to throw a quick question to Dr. Wecht about what he thinks about the up-and-coming President-elect Barack Obama, and in what ways we need to show him support as our new President-elect. And in Dr. Wecht's own words, I'd just like to hear something that would inspire or help us all to focus a little bit on what we need to do to be a part of the great
Well,
cause.
first, I'd like to thank Al and you, Lenell, for having invited me, for your production staff and everybody here at the station. It's my pleasure. I've been here many times in the past, although it has been a little while since my last visit. So I thank you very much. And it's nice to be inside in this cozy, warm environment with the miserable weather outside.
Yes,
and thank you for your gracious comments. Well, I think we are truly privileged to be living at one of the most remarkable periods in American history. The idea of an African American being President of the United States is something that not too long ago many people would have said was an impossibility, or maybe, you know, sometime in the 21st century. The election of Barack Obama, I think, sends a message, not that that was its purpose, but it does send a message to the rest of the world that we really are a pretty good, solid democracy. A lot of faults, a lot of things that we're not happy about, both nationally and internationally, but that we could go through an election with a myriad of candidates, some more distinguished than others, but many fine candidates, United States senators, governors, and so on. And through this morass, through all of the complexity, through all of the intricate political ramifications of these discussions, that this man should have emerged as a clear, overwhelming victor. I, as an American, am extremely proud. My family, my 4 kids and their spouses, all live here in the Pittsburgh area, and there certainly were 10 votes among the 8 of them and my wife and me for Barack Obama, and we were thrilled to be part of that. I think that he has shown already, since his election, the way in which he intends to proceed. Selection of cabinet officials is, in some respects, quite fascinating, not only because of its diversity, racially, ethnically, religiously, geographically, even politically, but even today, well, yesterday the appointment was announced, and I think there's going to be a lot more discussion. So far it's been kind of negative. I find it interesting and not negative that Leon Panetta has been appointed as director of the CIA, a man who has not been in the intelligence community. The message that I get from that is that the CIA is not going to be that omnipotent organization that sometimes has run amok in past decades, killing off leaders, arranging for assassinations of people that we did not like, Allende in Chile and the Young brothers in Vietnam, and so on and so forth. I think there's a message there. He didn't just reach out blindfolded and say, hey, who's going to be my director of CIA? there's a message there, man,
yeah.
that we're not going to have that kind of individual who's going to run over here with an organization, a government of its own that is not under the control of the president and so on. Very, very significant. Think about that. Just think about that.
I have thought.
So, and now, of course, the economic situation, I'm not a financial expert. I have nothing, gentlemen, to add to that. I think from the little I do know that it is a good idea to try to stimulate the economy. This proposal to follow through with his campaign promises and platform of cutting taxes of the middle income people in America, and the expenditure of $300+ billion to build roads. That's not a bailout. That's not a handout. People are going to be working.
Yes.
They're going to be given jobs, and they're going to work for those jobs, and that's going to stimulate the economy. So I'm all in favor of that. There's a lot to be done then internationally. I hope that we will begin to see a more active withdrawal of troops from the morass of Iraq. It's a shame, in my opinion, that we ever got bogged down there. And for a reason that hasn't been addressed, or that is a profound observation on my part, but which I think has not been sufficiently commented upon. There's been a lot of discussion. Was it wise politically? Was it a good thing to do then? What about weapons of mass destruction? Did he have them? Did he not have them? Did he have poisonous warfare, so on? There's a more basic reason before you get to all that. The Sunnis and the Shiites have been at war since the 7th century. Since the 7th century.
Yeah.
And we can't come in there and just put our arms around them and say, okay, embrace, and become friends. Not to mention then the Kurds and so on. Doonesbury, I love Gary Trudeau. If you read Doonesbury, sometimes you get some political observations in 4 little cartoon blocks that are so amazingly sagacious and profound. And one I remember a few months ago on a Sunday, so they had more pictures than the Sunday strip, and it showed an American Army officer with an Iraqi officer in a motor vehicle in Iraq. And the American says to the Iraqi, he says, remember our orders to take them alive. They're not to be killed. And he looks over and the Iraqi guy is, kind of shaking his head. And so the American officer says to him, what's the problem? He says, I don't know if I can do that. He says, why? What do you mean? Why can't you follow these orders? He says, they're my enemies. He says, what do you mean they're your enemies? He says, what happened? He said, they killed my ancestors 1,300 years ago. And that summarized it. That said it all. That said it all. In Afghanistan, do you realize you're dealing with tribes? Tribes. And I don't say that in a derogatory, condescending fashion. That's their way of life. Not everybody has to live like we do, shirts and ties and ball games. There are other ways of life. And by the way, I also think there are other forms of government too, besides democracy. I wouldn't want to live in anything other than a democracy, but to walk into some nation and say, hey, this is what you're going to do. Chinese are doing pretty well, 1.3 billion people, and they don't have a voting democracy. Who are we to tell them you will have a vote? It's their business, and so on. There are things to be addressed in the way of human rights and civil rights, etc. So, well, these are some opening remarks, and I think that President Barack Obama has a formidable task ahead of him. Nothing like it has existed since the days of Roosevelt, coming in 1933, elected in 32, with the incredible Depression and everything that was wrong in America that you can think of, including an awful lot then of people, neo-Nazis. You see younger people out there, they do not know that America had to be dragged